And I think that what Julia is saying is the way we've all felt at different times over the last couple of years, and certainly since the Cameron inquiry. And I think there's another layer to that, in that, you know, we go into medical school, as in many professions, knowing that there's always a chance you could make a mistake. There's always a chance there could be an error, but you do everything in good faith, and you do the best job you can do to the best of your abilities at the time. And that's how you sleep at night, because if you're worried about everything that could go wrong and what you've done, none of us would ever sleep. But that's one of the roles you take on as a physician, is you do the best job you can. But there's also an element that if every time something goes wrong, there's going to be a search for the sacrificial lamb, and that sacrificial lamb the next time could be you, and you're not sure how much support you're going to get from anyone except your colleagues. Because certainly in my situation, I know my colleagues would go to the ends of the earth for me, but time and time again, you're just wondering if something should go wrong, is it just going to be another sensationalized story for the government to get a hold of and make something of, and you're the one that's left out in the cold. So there's that lack of belief, I think, at this point, that the physicians are working with the regional health authorities, and they're working with the government, and we're all working together to improve the system. You're just thinking, oh my God, if I make a mistake, no one's going to be there to support me. My colleagues will be. I think we've proven that already with what's happened so far over the last few years. But that with all the changing technology and all the new information, I mean, trying to keep up on all of that, that if, you know, it should happen that there be a mistake or an error or whatever you want to call it, that at the end of the day, you could be the one left out to dry. And I think that's the anxiety physicians are feeling in this climate of blame that we're living in over the last couple of years. And that's why Julia's having dreams.
When it comes to the salary gap, how big is the gap between your professions and the oncologists and pathologists that receive the increases?
So maybe it's a 50% difference.
They're paid 50%
More,
than
yeah.
what you want.
I just wondered if I could make a comment about the wait list, because one thing I've noticed, so I started working here in 1999, and definitely volume of referrals for genetic services is going up and up as awareness of these diseases is improving, and also I think our ability to do genetic testing to sort things out is getting much, much better. But it's just as an example of whenever you're in an area that's very chronically understaffed in healthcare, what we end up doing to try to compensate for this is we put a lot of effort into triaging and wait lists, like, so that we don't want anyone that falls into an urgent or a semi-urgent category to be put in with non-urgent patients. And so, at least in genetics, we've got these three categories. But what's starting to happen, because we're just too low a number of physicians, is that by the time we make our way through the urgents and the semi-urgents, we can't really get to the non-urgents, and we actually only, what's starting to happen is we'll see non-urgents if someone calls about them, but otherwise we're really not making very much inroad with them, which is not good for a patient if you've been labeled non-urgent. But the other thing is that triage system is not perfect, right? We go by what's written on the referral letter, and there will be a proportion of non-urgent people that really can't wait that long. And so once you get into a system where you're never able to get through all your non-urgents, or it takes 2 years wait to get through, things are going to start to happen, right? People that were put into the wrong bin don't do well. And I've certainly seen that both in my own service and a number of other services. And I know I can speak for the neurology services having that problem as well.
And I would say it's the same in pediatrics, and certainly in developmental pediatrics, that once there is a new treatment or a new treatment regime available to a group of patients, you try to get them in and give them that. But that means there are other people waiting that really have just as much right to see you as everyone else. So, you know, this cherry picking that ends up happening because there is this sense of urgency, or a sense of, yes, there's a treatment available for someone, you still feel terrible that there's these other people that have every right to see you, but they wait on a wait list because they didn't fit into a certain category. And it's a big responsibility to have, and it's because of the shortages. We need more physicians and more resources available to physicians to do a better job, because it's not only physician resources. I work in an area where occupational therapy, nursing, and speech-language pathology could really make a huge difference in what I do if we had more people. But we just don't have them. We just don't have enough.
When are the resignations effective?
February 4th, 3 months from today.
So that's a Royal College requirement, actually, that we're not allowed to resign without having a 3-month period in which to notify everyone in our practice that we'll be going, and to try to make alternate arrangements for anyone that needs ongoing care.
And if government came back now and said they fixed the problems, would a lot of these resignations not happen, or do you think it's...
I think it's very difficult to know, because there are people, the reason they decided to participate in this is that they actually went through the whole process of securing another job. And so I guess for people like that, it would be sort of,
It's very difficult
I'm not
when
sure.
you've negotiated in faith with somebody who needs you elsewhere, to say, oh, well, this was a ploy, you know. So it really, you know, well, at this moment in time, we know what our offer is from the government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and so that's what we're saying no to.
And
So
we're
of
not
the
only...
13, how many have other jobs?
It's all individual, so I wouldn't know that. But there are a number of people who are looking and have been interviewing. We're not all in the same situation. Some of us won't be leaving the province, but we may very well be leaving medicine. And,
And certainly acute care medicine.
you know, some of us have spouses that are not really portable. So it would mean that we would be leaving the profession.
Do you expect more physicians will follow suit?
It's hard to say, but I would not be surprised if there would be another wave of resignation. There is no plan for that at the moment. However, I will tell you that this is not something that 13 people have been meeting about over the last several months. There have been many, many of our colleagues meeting with us, and they felt that they could not take this move at this time, but we have their support completely. And I would not be surprised to see more people down the road. Someone asked a little while ago if government came, what we'd be looking for government to change our minds. I mean, that's a very individual decision if anyone would change their mind about this, but I don't think it's a matter of money. I think what we need to see, or what I would want to see if I never practiced medicine in Newfoundland after February 4th, what I would want to see more than money is a change in attitude of how physicians are treated and listened to in this province, so that we can make effective inroads in improving the health care of our population, for our families, for our patients. That's what we need to see. We need to see a change of attitude between the NLMA and the government to recognize the NLMA and the doctors that make up the NLMA, because the NLMA is only doctors. It's not the people who work there. The executive director will change, the media person will change, but what doesn't change is it's the physicians of this province, and the physicians of this province are feeling that the government is not listening to their concerns. And that's what would have to happen, I think, for you to have a stable workforce in Newfoundland and Labrador.